Hello and welcome. This is the 7th episode in my collaboration with Spaceship, and here you can see what the base we've been building as the current part of our collaboration looks like. In the last bit of the most recent episode that Spaceship did, he added the escape modules and blast doors for safety, which you can see closest to the frame. And in this mission I'll be adding a science module to it. This is the rocket. It is in fact the same as all the rest of my rockets, but that shouldn't really be a surprise, just because, I don't know, reusing the same rocket over and over again and perfecting it and really maximizing its efficiency, especially when I've already got a design which is working nicely. That's just part of my thing that I do here on this channel. So here you can see another launch of the same rocket. Now this time it is being, I guess you could say, stretched kind of in its capacity, just simply because of the ridiculously big fairing. Now the actual part of the base itself, it was hard to work out whether I should put it in sideways or longways, but it turned out that putting it in that orientation was actually less space than rotating it, so that's what I did. As for the launch, it was fairly simple, standard, but again it was, due to the fairing, quite aerodynamically intense on the craft, which meant that launching it was definitely not the easiest of tasks. However, we definitely have sufficient delta V to bring it to orbit and perform our Minmus burn and encounter and landing and such, which for simplicity's sake for this video has in fact been edited out like with my last one. Now here is just my landing. However, this time, since this booster is really not meant to land on land, and I figured if I do perform if I am too good with my slowing down, I slow it down too fast, then that means that, well, my booster is going to hit the land, and that's no good. So what I did was I waited to deploy the slow down fins, the air brakes, until I knew I was no longer over the land, at which point I could deploy them, and they then lowered my speed down to a speed which was safe to deploy the parachutes at, which is pretty good. And it was able to touch down nice and smoothly, and I was from there just able to pick up the craft as I usually do, just wait for it to touch down, at which point the recover option appears, so I can just go ahead and recover that. Anyway, here's my craft about to circularize into an orbit of Minmus. Just to recover the recap, the orbit is in fact going to make sure it passes over the site of the landing zone. Now I'm just going to perform some orbits to get my craft to pass over the landing site, and you'll notice I just focused to Minmus there halfway through. That's just because keeping on the craft causing it to bounce around a bit across my screen. I didn't like that, so just to keep it headache free, I just did that. Now I was a little bit overly aggressive, I'll say, with my burn, meaning I was falling short. However, that can be nice and easily and safely undone in a sense. As for the actual craft, you can see, and you can finally get a good look at it, so that's why I'm just mentioning it here. I added some extra solar panels just to give it some power, because I figured a scientific module would need some of its own dedicated power. I also figured it might have some high-powered machinery or some computers or something, so it might need some cooling. So I decided to add some cooling radiators as well. I also gave it some towers. Some of them are the magnometers, which double as really cool looking towers for some kind of scientific stuff, as well as a tower down the center, which is made up of small external laboratory, shall we say, as well as, which is also surrounded by a little balcony where you can do some science and observe the bays, as well as store gear for future expeditions which are going out with the buggies and deploying some bases. So that's the main area over there. The bulk of it is in fact built up of laboratories. Now, although there is a laboratory already on the base, I figured, well, that laboratory is over with the fuel mining and producing section, so I figured, what if that laboratory was more for analyzing the fuel and making sure that the fuel was all in check, and this laboratory here was for actual scientific research about Minmus. I figured that would make more sense. So that's my justification justifying why I've got multiple laboratories on this base is that exact reasoning there. As for the rest of it, it's got some nice pylons to stand on, which are always useful, I guess. It's got a main senior docking port, just because the port it has to dock to is a senior docking port on the other side. And it's also got just a reaction wheel and a plate, just because I figured that kind of looks like a good, that looks nice for the end. And it's also got a little pod there to kind of act as, I don't know, a cool looking window, and also it also looks like a airlock, so that's why I included it. You might wonder where all the fuel is for this thing, because the only visible fuel tanks are a couple of Oscar B tanks, and although they contain fuel, they don't hold nearly enough fuel to perform a landing. That is because I have in fact clipped some fuel tanks into the main into the laboratories. I figured that's okay in the Kerbal Space Program universe, just simply because the laboratories, they can be a bit thin down the middle, and the exterior can be lined with fuel tanks, and I kind of gave it reasonable-ish levels of fuel to kind of simulate that. So yeah, that's why I did that. And plus, this save is not you know, a career or a science playthrough. It's kind of realistic. This looks cool, kind of having fun. So I figured that makes sense, and that gives me a good reason to do that. As for docking to the main space station, we have in fact previously discovered that moving these structures around a base of this size, which is big and stuff, that kind of doesn't work too well, as Space Sheep discovered in his video where he did the main habitat module. By the way, if you haven't seen his content, or that video, or his channel, or if you haven't subscribed to him or me, then now's a great time to go and subscribe to both of us, because we are enjoying this collaboration and it's putting out some great content. So you should definitely support both of us, and a link to his channel will just be in the description, as per usual with these kinds of collaborations. So as a result, yeah, you should go and check out his channel. Also, a small note is the half of the axes on this for control are backwards, because the axes to go forwards and backwards were around the right way. However, when I tried to go left or right or rotate, those axes were backwards. So saying the command to reverse wouldn't really help, because it would mean that the forwards and backwards would then be reversed, but the others were reversed. So that was quite interesting. I've never come across that, but hey, there you go, I guess. Half of the axes reversed. Anyway, that's why these hops aren't as elegant, or shall we say effective, as I might have wanted, just because I was doing quite a lot of mental working out in my head which direction's actually the right direction. Also, another small detail I forgot to mention was the two little panels outside the airlocky observatory area. I figured that it makes sense to have some little tiny outdoor scientific laboratory pads or whatever, where there could be like some equipment set up, and the Kerbals could use them to just perform experiments on outside, or set up outdoor equipment or experiments. And so I left some seating space or some standing space in case a Kerbal wants to work there, but I also included ample space for gear as well. So that's there. Yeah. Also, do make sure that you quick save a lot while performing these sorts of maneuvers, because they can be rather difficult. Also, I do wish that the docking port senior had better magnets, because if this was like the smaller docking port, it would have definitely have docked by now. But it did take quite a lot of wiggling and just waiting for the magnets to do their thing. However, we've now deployed, which means we can, well, connected, which means we can deploy our all of our science stuff, and we can have a wonderful look at the base as it stands. Thank you for watching this base video in collaboration with Spaceship. This is in fact the last video where we're building the base, but we've got some more stuff to build later on, so don't worry about that. And thank you for sticking around this long. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to both myself and Spaceship to fully support the entire series and the channel. Other than that, please like, please comment. It's the easiest way to contact me and Spaceship. He reads my comments too. And other than that, thank you and goodbye. Have a good day.